Hello there, welcome to another show. Today I'm going to be talking about the film called France by Bruno Dumont. So it's a film, not the country. Just to be clear. It stars Lea Seydoux and it's a satire-ish about media in France. But it can be media anywhere basically. It's about media manipulation of events and manipulation of facts and the kind of people that go into this kind of field and how dysfunctional they are. So when you hear satire, you think this is going to be much more satirical than it actually is. I mean, it's satirical in a more subtle way. I mean, Dumont is... I think he kind of goes more for the Paul Verhoeven-ish way of doing the satire in a sense that he has a story and a drama going on, but he just adds ironies to the situation, and you're meant to be smart enough to actually understand where the humour's coming from rather than making it feel like it's a full-on satire. So I was expecting something much broader when I first heard of this film than it actually is. It's not that broad. It feels like a normal French film with a sense of humour below the surface that's a bit more cutting than normal. But the sense of humour is there. It just takes its time. I mean, the film's just 2 hours, 15 minutes long, and it's paced deliberately. It's not like, you're not going to get like joke after joke or anything. It's not something like The Death of Stalin or something like that, or In the Loop, which is much more satirical than the Iannucci kind of films, where it's a bit more, it's broader, the characters are a bit more cartoonish. The characters are cartoonish in a way, but tries to give them some sort of depth, and then sort of take it away at the same time by showing them the kind of what they do to themselves, really. So, Seydoux plays this character who's named France de l'Amour, so it's like her name is the same as the country, which is very pretentious, obviously. So either she had messed up parents, or she changed it for her image. But it's a kind of weird mix. The character's this weird mix of a reporter and a kind of person who's playing on everyone's emotions by being like the face of emotions for the country. That kind of thing of that kind of journalist who puts themselves in the camera and who gets criticised for that. I mean, imagine if Michael Moore was actually a newscaster and actually was on all the time, but it was less left wing. That thing of someone who puts themselves in the front of the camera and tries to push his feelings onto the story. That's what she's doing in this. She's doing these stories about like, going to war zones, but then as you go into the story, you can see all the manipulations of like how they get the shots to create the drama, to create this kind of false narrative that's there in the people. So they're creating a world that experiences what they want to experience rather than actually really probing into the complexities of the situation. The actual details that would mean like there's not one simplistic solution to any problem. This is like, yes, there's an emotional connection here. What are we doing about it? Blah, blah, blah. And it's using emotion to actually hide complexity. That's what she's doing. That's what she's a merchant of. That's what she does as a career. And the film is basically about her sort of learning the cost of that, basically, as she starts to get panic attacks and starts to feel invaded by all these people. Because she's presented herself as this caring figure, so everyone's always wanting a selfie with her. Everyone's wanting a piece of her, basically, because she's presented herself as selfless. It's what do you do when you present yourself as, of course, the nicest person imaginable, the person who cares so much? Of course, people are going to be drawn to that to believe it. and she hates it because she's created this lie that she knows is a lie. So it's this sort of weird thing about what fame is and what the image you create, because it's in news, but it can also just be an actor or a filmmaker or whoever's actually manipulating. If you do fiction, you manipulate anything in the world into your point of view, and your point of view is very subjective, and it's very much being kind to yourself and ignoring the difficult facts you don't want to deal with. So she's doing that, just any filmmaker would do that. And at a certain point, she's starting to realise that this is not a particularly healthy thing to do. But she's trapped in a system that pays her well to be this figure. And she wants out of it, she wants to prove that she cares. But her way of doing it is just inexperienced and just tied to what she does, which is, it's all about her. When she tries to go and help the poor, everyone hates her because she's so focused on how this affects her rather than, that's not your job. Your job is to help the poor. They don't care about you. There's things like that. She also comes up against this idea that she wants to be seen to be helping, even if she's really not. She wants to think well of herself. And as she goes through the film, she's starting to see that it's just a lot of crap. It's all about her. It's all about her addiction to this sort of simplistic narrative that she's created of herself and how she's had to try and keep it going. And she can make jokes with her producer that show she's in the joke and she's aware of what she's doing, like intellectually, but emotionally she hasn't really worked it out. There's a lot of stuff that she hasn't quite mature enough to work out, and there's just a lot there where it's about this sense of, entitlement. Now, there's not much plot to spoil, so if I say anything, I'll give you a spoiler warning, but I'm not really going into the spoilers. It's a new film, so I'm trying to keep away from anything later on. But it's a film about, it's a character piece rather than the story of someone who's where there's lots of progression. This is actually about someone figuring out who they actually are and figuring out that they actually are a predator, but they don't want to admit it because she's got a good living. She's got a good sense of being within her community. She is the kind of heart of her news station. She's the emotional heart. But it shows you how much just sticking to the emotions of a situation actually isn't healthy, because you are too forgiving about all the other things. And the film has a lot of fun with the idea that she's always got this tearful expression on her face. And so after a while, there's so many scenes of her crying in an angelic way that after a while you start thinking, will the tear come down the face that way, or that way, or that way? And you get the feeling they're in the joke. Like, it makes this film know what they're doing. There's been so many of these scenes, like they know exactly what they're doing. This is a film about someone who is a manipulator, who've actually conned themselves a lot of the time. And as she goes on, she starts to suggest that she's moved beyond conning herself, but that's not the case. It's really not the case. It's just there's all new levels of con she can do to herself to make her still work within what she does. And you just get the feeling that this is a narcissist who's always going to cause damage to people and herself, and it's never going to be her fault. It's always other people's fault. She can be nasty about other people, but please don't be nasty about her. Please don't point out her stories are vague and don't do anything. Like, she goes to the Middle East to look at rebels who are actually farmers, and ask nothing that's really important as a question. It's just to make the people back home in France feel just the same way you see these kind of things in Britain and America. It's all about how you feel, and how the news networks now are about they say they're selling you the news. They say they're going to give you both points of view and blah blah blah. No talking heads and stuff for a very brief time. They won't get into any detail. They won't get into any tough subjects, and it's all about feelings rather than creating feelings. So you'll stay on and you'll watch the adverts, and you'll keep being enticed by this fantasy of you're a concerned citizen, you're a serious person watching the news, you know all about the world, and look how emotional this person is, and that's a metaphor for you. And it's about the damage that does, that kind of self-involvement, that narcissism that starts at the top and is a good way to blind people from asking questions, and how it spreads to the whole world, where basically people are more interested in getting a selfie with her than actually questioning what she's doing. And everyone just wants this kind of godlike figure, this emotional figure, rather than actually answering the questions that would make you feel depressed. So it's about what human beings do to themselves and how they manipulate the other people into easy answers, and how they manipulate themselves into easy answers, and how that starts from the top and it's all the way down. It makes everything run, basically, because no one actually wants to ask the difficult questions. That's what's the big time of the film. No one's asking difficult questions. They're all just asking, what are the easiest questions we can ask here? And that's what's wonderful about the film. It's uneasy. It's at the start of it, it's slightly annoying because this character is slightly annoying, even though she's really well played. And then as you go on, you start to see the layers of bullshit and self-deception. It becomes much more interesting as you start to see. You're meant to be annoyed the first section, and as it goes on, you start to get more and more layers of that kind of narcissism and the kind of corrosive effect of it all, and how nothing ultimately matters. Even major disasters of human lives lost doesn't matter. It's just all there to feed this narrative that can be sold on to the people and make you feel warm inside and make you not ask questions. So it's a wonderful film. It's the first Dumont film I've seen, so I'm looking forward to watching more. I've got a few more of his films to watch now. But this was really good. It did not get great reviews, but I think it's one of those films that will be better seen as we go on, as this film goes on. Because I think it's about something that people don't like talking about, is like how, because we always expect the news to be serious. And as we see nowadays, how the news kind of doesn't really give you the full news a lot of the time. It is a really good look at where this wholeness has come from. Where's this dissatisfaction with the world of the news broadcast is coming from? It starts right at the top. So it's a wonderful film, highly recommended. Definitely go see it. It is quite uncomfortable after a while, but not in a kind of gasp or no way. It's just the kind of creepiness of how it kind of gets you with the things that you're manipulating and responding to within the supposed serious news world, and how nothing really means anything. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope this inspires you to go and see the film France, because it is very good. But you need to put effort into it to start, because it is a typical French film where it's deliberately paced and you have to actually put the effort in. You can't just expect them to throw stuff at the screen and keep you occupied, like they didn't treat you like an idiot. It treats you like you're meant to be grown up watching this film. So, go see the film. I'll be back soon with another video, but that's me for now. Bye.